So this is going to be a rear brake change, the brake pads and the rotors for a 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee WK. It is the 6-cylinder, the 3.6 liter. It's, it has 4-wheel drive, and I'm mentioning that because I don't know if this would be good for the 4-cylinders and other ones. So I tried to use that little pad to jack up the car, and I was touching the side skirt, so I decided not to do that. So apparently my jack was not strong enough, or I guess it was having issues, so I had to grab the scissor jack and put it in there, and I didn't want the car to fall on me, so that's how I set it up. You don't have to touch the speed sensor. You can just leave that alone, but there's two 18mm bolts on the back of the caliper that you need to get, and they were a pain in the butt to get to. I tried to use the breaker bar, but the breaker bar was too big to break them loose. It was too wide, so I ended up just using a smaller size socket, and I was able to break them loose with my normal strength. I didn't have to use the breaker bar, so that's what ended up happening. You're going to need a lot of different tools for this job, though. Yeah, so this is the ratchet that I use, just a small one like this, and that broke it loose. Get yourself a good caliper hanger so that you're not like me. But you could tell how bad these were. These clips were a little interesting. They were different. Just notice the way that they're sitting on the caliper, because I actually put them in wrong at first, and then I put them in right the second time. But my friend here is showing how bad the pads were. They really were in need of a replacement. Took me a little bit. I haven't done a brake job in a while, so I kind of forgot the orientation of the pads. Oh, that shot was so that you can tell what type of... Oh, this is going too fast, actually. I was trying to show you that you can buy a regular brake caliper tool. You don't have to get the one that has the little divots in it. I bought that tool for $6 and it worked great. So this right here, what you're seeing that was the most difficult part. I had to get an impact gun and get a 32 or 33, 34 millimeter socket. I think I showed you in the video. The socket was actually a little bit loose as well. And make sure that you take off this little rubber band piece that's on the rotor, or else you won't be able to get the rotor off. So make sure you sand down all the parts on after you take the rotor off, make sure you sand down the hub, because if you don't sand it down, you're not going to be able to get the new rotor onto the hub. It's not going to seat properly, and it's going to become a problem. So yeah, take a look at the video again. 32, 30, I can't remember what millimeter socket that was, but that's an axle. That's an axle nut that you have to take off, and I used an impact gun to get that off, which I wasn't expecting that, but I'm glad I had the socket and the tools for it. This was me just struggling with this caliper for whatever reason. I was having a hard time getting the pads in. But the second one went so much faster. It was so much easier. I was using a jack stand to hold up the caliper. So I took it wasn't seating properly, and I'm really sanding it down. I'm getting frustrated because I'm like, I don't know why it's not working, and Get yourself a wire brush. Don't get the wire wheel like I was using. Get a wire brush. Because the wheel does not get into the crevices the way you need it to. And the wheel could probably mess up the threads. But you can see I put the lug nuts on the lug bolts so that I wouldn't mess up the threads. So that's one way to avoid messing up the threads. And is it seating properly now? It might be. No, it still didn't. Look, this is why I'm struggling. So you really gotta take your time and get all that rust out. And I'm probably getting a little frustrated, but overall it wasn't that bad. And those are the drums back there. I used some water. I really needed to lubricate. I was just thinking I gotta lubricate this because it's having a hard time getting in there. And there you go. Went right in. And I'm getting that. I'm getting that ring now. That rubber ring, and I'm going to put that on there. Oh, I could not replace those little caps for the brake caliper. I did not feel comfortable doing that. I felt like I was going to damage them and maybe not put them on correctly, so I decided not to do it. I'm struggling more with the caliper. Okay, so I got the axle nut on and we are tightening it to the max that this thing can do, like 155 foot-pounds. Just checking that the caliper was on correctly. This is just good to look at so that you know how this thing does not go on. Was that actually correct? That is the correct way to do it. That was the old one. What the hell was that? This is a different angle. I'm really trying to give you the best angles I could, but it was hard. The whole job took 4 hours. So now this is the second one. This one was so much easier because I knew what to do. I knew to use the smaller ratchet to get those bolts off. There you go. I'm using the tool to compress the piston. I sanded down the caliper a little bit. I'm using the Ugga Dugga to take off that 30-something millimeter socket. Tapping around the rotor to get it to come loose. Now I'm sanding it down. Like you can tell at this point, I did the first one, it was struggling. Once I got to the second one, it was much easier. Sanding it down. Now I'm going to take the lug nuts off. No, I'm still sanding down. I used a piece of sandpaper. Really could have used something better. But I think this video will at least let you know that there's a big axle nut there that you're going to have to worry about. And the different sizes of sockets that you need and some tips. And yeah, I hope this video helps you. We washed down the rotor. I didn't have brake cleaner. I know, should have got some brake cleaner. So now I'm taking off the lug nuts. And watch, this rotor's gonna fit right on with no issues. Because I did it right the first time. Bam. Nice. We were so happy about that. Put the rubber band drawn on there. They don't give you another, in the kit, it didn't give you a new rubber band, which I thought was weird. You probably don't need it, but it's another, I think it's another piece of safety, is what it is. Now we go ugga-dugga this boy. Okay, honestly, I held it down and I'm watching. Well, she keeps talking. My friend keeps talking about it. Now I'm watching the axle nut spin, and once it starts spinning slowly, that's when I slow down. Now I'm torquing it. She was gonna use her hand. I'm like, you're crazy. Just get up in there and use your foot. Tinking. Now we gotta put the caliper back on. Alright, so at this point it's just a repeat of before, putting the brake pads in the caliper, and it went right in. I didn't have any problems on the second time. Putting that little bracket on the caliper the correct way this time. Putting the two 18mm bolts in there. Using the smaller ratchet so that you're not struggling with space. She thought the car was going to fall on me. I thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, well, you're not going to hold up the car. You're going to get crushed too. Put the wheel on. I just hand tighten the lug nuts a little bit, and don't strip them. Take your time putting the lug nuts on. I have stripped lug nuts before. That's not fun. Okay, then I use the ugga-dugga command just to kind of speed it up, and then I'll use the breaker bar. Well, now I'm using the breaker bar to tighten them, but I'm gonna use the actual wrench to tighten them the correct way, the torque wrench. What are we doing? Pointing to a tire here? Oh god, I hate editing. Oh, we're lowering the car. You could see you could see the car getting low. Yep, there's my scissor jack. It's in the trunk of the car.
For a ride. I took a shower. I took it for a ride. I slammed on the brakes several times. There's probably a break-in period. I probably should have read that. I'm just dropping the car off to my girlfriend. I slammed on the brakes several times. No issues. Worked out really well. Feeling good about it. Yeah. I'm happy. What did you think about the car, babe?
Brakes a lot better than it used to.
All right. It breaks, but it's not broken.
Huh?